Mike Tyson stunned the boxing world with his punching power when he turned pro in 1985. He was still a teenager, just a few years away from a troubled childhood in Brooklyn, New York. Tyson's story was familiar. Boxing would save him from the streets and make him a star. The youngest ever heavyweight champion at the age of 20.
And we have a new era in boxing.
Shortly after he became the heavyweight champion of the world, he became the poster boy and did ads.
Knock drugs out of your life by just saying no. Just not sham a diaper.
Mike Tyson.
He was well-spoken, had a nice smile, a little gap tooth, but a nice smile. He was a charming young man.
No, they should get fighters rings because you can't walk the street with him.
He was gathering enormous momentum as a public figure. The crowd was magnetized to him.
When I go to big cities, everybody stop, and it's like, wow, Mike Tyson. You're Mike Tyson, aren't you? Aren't you that young knockout kid? And it's like, wow.
When he started to become popular, he would talk to me about girls, and if girls would find him attractive, that he felt ugly. I remember sitting in traffic, people coming out of their car to give their daughter's phone number to him. Then it was the limos and the girls and the parties, and there were always people surrounding him who didn't help develop the sweeter side of Mike.
I'm with Robin Givens, who was attending her first Mike Tyson fight as Mrs. Champion. Robin, inquiring minds want to know, how does a woman who went to Sarah Lawrence and Harvard Medical School wind up falling in love with a guy who's a graduate of the School of Hard Knocks?
God, I want to know too.
In 1988, Tyson formed an unlikely union with actress Robin Givens. But as quickly as it began, their marriage ended 8 months later, with Givens accusing Tyson of being manic-depressive and physically abusive.
The question came, what is the best punches you have ever hit anyone with? And then he started to laugh. I said, why are you laughing? He said, because the best punch was a right backhand that I hit Robin with, and she hit every wall in the room.
So Tyson signed up for a quick payday against an undistinguished opponent, James Buster Douglas from Columbus, Ohio. A tall fighter with a generous reach, 29-year-old Douglas had shown flashes of a potential which had thus far gone unfulfilled.
In 1990, Buster Douglas was just another heavyweight out there who looked like a sitting duck for Mike Tyson.
Buster Douglas was one of the great underachievers of his time. He always was sort of perceived as a guy who didn't really like to fight. He had a lot of tremendous physical talent. The big debate was, is anybody going to go to Tokyo to cover the fight?
The only important stage that Buster Douglas had ever been on before this fight was against Tony Tucker, a good fighter. And he was beating Tony Tucker until he ran out of gas. That was interpreted as, this guy doesn't have heart, will, spirit, need, whatever it was. Only one betting parlor would put up odds on the fight, and that was probably just as a gag.
They say it was 42-1, it was 1,000-1, or 1,000,000-1. No one gave us a prayer.
Fear was a lot of Tyson's weaponry in the past when he was at his greatness. The fighters came in almost frozen, almost the prey of a cobra. But Buster Douglas, by his mother just dying, he had no fear. What do I care? That just happened to be the perfect timing that he had to fight a dissipating Tyson whose mind is going everywhere, and a lot of it's following Robin Givens' retreating figure.
He was regarded as being in a morbid frame of mind because of his difficulties with Robin and the breakup of that relationship. Let's face it, Mike was known to be an unusual personality anyway.
By late 1988, Tyson's behavior had become increasingly bizarre.
Boxing champion Mike Tyson allegedly went on another emotional rampage.
Tyson lost control of his BMW and it
Mike Tyson was found guilty yesterday of fondling.
The champ's troubles continue to multiply.
At the same time, Tyson was taking apart his old management team and bringing in the new, led by controversial promoter Don King. Gone were manager Bill Caton and longtime trainer Kevin Rooney. Replacing Rooney was Aaron Snowell, who soon found out that he had an uncooperative fighter on his hands.
He no longer wanted me to run with him. He didn't want to be bothered. He said, if they come and get me to run, I'm leaving up out of here. And that was his attitude. In a workout in Tokyo, Mike was sparring with Greg Page, and he got hit and went down. He looked at me when he went down. I said, get up. And he got up and came over like this, and I wiped his gloves off, and I told him to go back in there. I had sat down one night, and I talked to Mike. I told him, you're not Superman. And the best that I know about this game, the things you've been doing and how you've been doing it, you're headed for a butt whooping.
When I went over into the dressing room to check Tyson's gloves, he was walking like an animal in there, storming back and forth, looking at me like he wanted to kill me, you know. So Mike Tyson was ready to fight. And when I left the room, I told him, I said, you know, you're going to get your ass kicked. But I got out of there real quick when I told him that.
When Douglas trotted into the ring, there was almost a sense of bemusement. We thought he was going to his doom, but he didn't.
Mike Tyson rushing toward the ring, wanting to get it on and get it over with.
When he got into the ring, I could see that he wasn't in top shape. And plus I had heard, someone said he wasn't really doing any training and he was, you know, having a good time over there, and you can have a good time in Japan. But Douglas was in good shape. I remember that.
James Buster Douglas!
I noticed he was looking at me, trying to get the eye contact, do his usual stare down and stuff, but you know, I was like paying him no attention, trying to show no fear.
Douglas insists that he's going to shock the world in this fight.
I don't know what Mike was thinking. If he knew he wasn't in shape, he should have went out there and threw everything he had in the first round, because he wasn't throwing any punches. And Douglas was. After the first round, I felt that Mike was going to have a problem.
Very hard right hand by Douglas inside.
The way Mike started out, you could see his timing and his rhythm wasn't there.
I was sitting next to Don King, and Mike was getting beaten so badly. And after 3 or 4 rounds, I looked at Don King. I said, Don, is this really happening? And I said, what's going on? He said, I don't know, but I don't like it. You're too flat-footed in there. Right. Okay?
Trust in what you know. Do it. Let it go.
Incredibly, the self-proclaimed baddest man on the planet was struggling in the ring. His problems were just beginning. By the end of the 4th round, swelling had developed over Tyson's left eye, and his corner was shockingly unprepared to help him. They had neglected to bring a standard piece of equipment called an end swell, an ice-cold steel press used to reduce the swelling around the eyes of a battered fighter.
The disbelief didn't really set in until Mike's eye swelled and we began to watch what was going on in the corner. And suddenly it became clear they didn't have a cut man, they didn't have any equipment.
Well, the rule of thumb for swelling is put a cold compress on it. I made a cold compress in a rubber glove from down on the floor.
They were trying to put icy water into a latex glove to hold against his eye, which is like the little boy with his thumb in the dike.
I did what I had to do for that time for a mistake somebody made that was on the team. And being that I'm the leader of the team, I take responsibility. But it wasn't his eye being swollen. It was him making a mistake and getting hit with the punch.
Whatever went wrong is because of me. You know what I mean? And that's what I keep my, you know what I mean? Because when it goes right, I always say it's because of me it went right. And regardless if you have the best quarterman in the world, if you can't fight, it's useless.
If they hadn't had an end swell, it wouldn't have changed the outcome of the fight. You know what I mean? But it would have made them look a little better.
This is high drama, and the crowd here is greeting it by and large with stony silence.
And one of the things that was happening at ringside was you noticed the silence of the crowd. It was like they had gone to a movie and Godzilla was coming to eat up the town, and then, you know, Godzilla never showed up.
Finally, in round 8, Tyson found the opening he had been waiting for, when Douglas, emboldened in his role of giant slayer, dropped his guard for just an instant.
Buster started looking at his work. Yeah, you ain't so bad. So he posed in front of him. Mike hit him with that uppercut, and boom, down he goes.
And there's a right hand uppercut, and down goes Douglas.
And he pounded his fist on the canvas, and I said, oh, okay, he's all right. Checked my watch to see where we were at in the round. Knew the round was almost over. I said, okay, we're cool.
Fortunately, I was just, you know, caught with a glancing blow to where it really didn't do an effect to me. It knocked me down, but that was it.
When Mike hit him and knocked him down, it was like my kid getting knocked down. And at that instant, I wanted to reach through the TV and help him up. And he got up, like a man. He got up and he shook it off. And the rest is history.
Let's see what Mike can do to finish. And the bell ends to save Buster Douglas at the end of round 8.
He had put so much into that shot and to pull it off that it was gone. Mike normally would just swarm all over a guy when he had him hurt. And he just didn't have it in him.
And Mike has slowed down. Maybe a tiny bit arm weary.
He hits the guy with his best Sunday punch, and the guy gets up. He's like, oh, if that don't take, you know, the desire out of you, nothing will.
Douglas coming back with a look at right. Tyson is wobbling. Douglas wailing away.
Tyson, who had absorbed tremendous punishment, was unable to summon the energy to capitalize on the knockdown. Douglas came back strongly in the 9th round and sensed that Tyson was a spent force in the 10th. The fight of Douglas's dreams was now the fight of his life.
I started popping him with them jabs, seeing he wasn't moving as much as he was before. Then I pivoted, you know, where I got leverage and came up with it, you know, a real good uppercut. Bow.
Oh, the uppercut! And I swear, if Mike Tyson's neck wasn't so big, it'd have ripped his head off. When he hit him, I actually went like that. I swear to God, I did. I went like that. I thought maybe he knocked his head off. He hit him so hard with that uppercut. And then he just come with combinations and just drilled him. He fell right in our corner. I said, you're done. Stay down, Mike.
I said, oh, shit. That's what went through my mind.
What an uppercut by Douglas, and down goes Tyson.
And I'm thinking crazy. I'm saying they won't allow me to fight if I don't have the mouthpiece in my mouth. So I'm grabbing for the mouthpiece. It was over. I tried to get up, and I was hazy. I didn't know where I was at.
It's over! It's over!
Mike Tyson has been knocked out.
At the end of the fight, he asked me what had happened, and I said, you got knocked out. He wasn't feeling too good. His eye was swollen shut. He wanted to break down and cry, but he held himself together. He took his butt whooping like a man.
And new heavyweight champion of the world, James Buster Douglas. Let's go ahead and call it the biggest upset in the history of heavyweight championship fights.
Buster beat him at his best. And that myth about him not being in shape, that's not true. Because if he wouldn't have been in shape, he'd have been out of there in about the 2nd or 3rd round, because Buster was humming him. He just got his butt handed to him, and that's the excuse that he tried to use.
Why did it happen, James?
Because I wanted it.
Why? Why did you win this fight that nobody on the planet gave you?
His mother.
In what way?
God bless her heart.
People around him were saying, let's go, let's get out of here.
You want to go, James? No, let him talk.
But that was his moment, and he wanted to speak. And I remember myself very clearly saying, let's just follow him as he's dealing with these extraordinarily human emotions.
I'm just feeling real good and finally able to exhale with all the things that have been going on that I had to keep inside. The main thing I wanted to do was express my joy for my father and my mom, but my father. And Dad, this one is for you. I love you. He's my hero. To take the baton, so to speak, and then just to fulfill a dream, not only for myself, but for him, was just the most rewarding thing in the world.
But in boxing, nothing is ever as simple as it seems.